my last video, we talked about using even bows with open strings. What happens when we add the left hand? Sometimes the left hand takes over. If you haven't done the even bows exercise before, I would suggest that you start there and teach your students that first. But if they mastered that, it might be time to add some slurs. You know the typical editorialized Mozart bowing, slur to, bow to. Golly, those can cause all kinds of problems. Students, teachers, well, everybody focuses on the left hand, and the left hand takes over, and you can end up with tempo problems, style problems, phrasing problems. Here's a simple exercise to help your students with asymmetrical bowings that involve slurs. First, you just want them to set their bows and play in the middle of the bow, and just have them play open D and first finger E slurred together with eighth notes. Not too bad, right? That's because the bows are equal. Now, what happens when we slur to, then bow to? Yikes, right? There are likely a number of issues that come up to compensate for the asymmetry. Most of the time, students clip the second slur to eighth note short because it reduces the note length. Most of the time, students clip the second slur to eighth note short because it reduces the amount of bow length used. Some of the time it rushes, some of the time the detached notes are louder than the slurs. And you can't work on everything at the same time. Address whatever the problem is, the biggest problem first, and when it's not the biggest problem anymore, address what's the new biggest problem and work your way down the list. Eventually, your students will get really good at this and play with good technique because they learn to slow the bow down on the slur, and they learn to use more weight to compensate for the dynamic change, and it should sound like this. Awesome stuff. I'll see you in the next video.